I hope everybody's having a wonderful time, and I know that your teachers miss you, and we miss you. And I always wanted to jump in and share something with you, share a story with you to help you celebrate the holiday season. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You've probably heard the story, you've probably seen movies, but I'm going to read the story to you. Now, this is by Dr. Seuss, one of my favorite authors. His books usually have a very good point to them. So listen carefully and see what you can learn here. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, he did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that most likely reason of all, it may have been his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. There he is standing up there in his cave, looking down on Whoville. He is not happy. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They would rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise. Oh, the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise. See all the little Whoville children playing and making lots of noise? I bet you guys would be doing that too. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast. And they'd feast. And they would feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beef, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. There they all, gathering around for their big feast, waiting patiently for the food to arrive. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with the Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas singing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years, I've put up with this now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? And there are all the Who peoples, hand in hand singing. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on top of his head. So there's the Grinch putting on his Saint Nick Santa Claus outfit and tying antlers to his dog's head. Poor Max. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh. He hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "G'dap!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. Here he comes, down the hill. All their windows were dark, Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinch Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Empty bags. That's not what Santa would do, is it? There he is. He's ready to come down the chimney with an empty bag. I wonder what he's going to do. He's not going to leave anything, is he? Then he slid down the chimney in rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. Where the little Who stockings all hung in a row, these stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. There he is. We knew it. He had an empty sack, so he's going to be taking stuff. He's not leaving anything, is he? Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags, one by one, up the chimney. There he goes. Taking stuff that's not his, that's not a cool thing to do. Would you guys agree? Then he slunk to the ice box. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beef. He cleaned out that ice box as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. There he is, stealing from the refrigerator. They call it ice box here. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by the tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" There he is, trying to steal the Christmas tree, shoving it up the chimney, but Cindy Lou caught him. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log on the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. There he goes, up the chimney, taking the log from the fire, leaving a crumb too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still in bed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. There he goes. He's got his sleigh full. Can you think of the difference between what he's doing and what Santa Claus does? One gives and one takes, huh? What do you think the best thing to do is? I know what you're thinking, and you're probably right. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh-pooh to the Who's," he was grinchiously humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo." There he is again. "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch, he put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. There he and Max are listening for the noise. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound was merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. He's shocked. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. And somehow or other, it came just the same. See, they're all there happy and singing, whether they have presents or not. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. I hope that you are able to understand that, that this time of year is not all about just getting presents and gifts, but it's that feeling that we have for one another and treating each other right and taking care of one another and looking out for one another. And I know that you are doing that for your families, and I know your teachers are doing that for you, and I hope that you know that we, all of Raleigh County Schools staff, we love and care about you and your families very much. And from me, from our Raleigh County staff, we wish you the best holiday season ever.